What's up, everyone? My name is Terminus, and we're once again here for Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, episode 5, finally. The last episode, which is out right now, as far as I'm aware. I don't want to hold up too long. I've seen that my discussions are a little bit too long. So I wanna narrow it down a little bit. Once I got these up, I also would probably include common spotlights and stuff such as this. We're gonna jump right into it. Last time we did find out that Flamme is the master of, or was the master of Frieren. And she was a legendary mage and left behind some manuscripts, of which a lot of them are apparently hoaxes. But Frieren did immediately identify and kind of went back into memory, remembering Flamme. Did immediately identify the manuscript. One thing that I found very interesting about Flamme is that she actually seems to be human. So there was some kind of inhuman or less lifespan influence on Frieren in the early days. And she already somewhat foresaw that Frieren might have to deal with this discrepancy that exists between her and other people in terms of how she sees the passing of time. We did also find out that there is apparently some kind of afterlife called Aureole, which is at the very northern tip of the world, the known world, which is conveniently enough or surprisingly enough at the very point where the Demon King, or at the general region where the Demon King's castle used to be, that they went on a journey towards when they set out to defeat the Demon King. And so we made the decision to travel through the lands, travel through the Ville region, which I'm sure is thematically important, the name, and travel through the Royal Canyon and get to the Demon King's castle. Once again, as we had planned before, retracing the steps of Frieren and her hero's party when they went on their big journey. So we still have the same destination, but we have an additional goal, which is maybe to talk to Himmel, get some closure for Frieren herself. At least that is what I think she subconsciously desires to do. In addition to that, we did get our mission, basically, from Eisen. Who knows that sometimes Frieren needs a little bit of a push, and he said, "All right, I'll contract you. You go there, please. You find out what you need to find out. Do it for me." Other than that, I did decide to look a little bit into the staff that is involved in the anime, because I always find it very interesting to make those connections between different anime I've already seen or stuff I might recognize from other roles. We do have the director, Kenichiro Saito. I did find out that he apparently was involved in Oshinoko. I don't know how much he did actually direct for Oshinoko. I can look a little bit further into that maybe. He also did Mob Psycho 100, which I have not seen personally. So there's an interesting tidbit. If we ever make a action-oriented kind of poll, might be open to be watching that. A lot of people seem to really enjoy that anime. It is, as far as I know, from the creator of One Punch Man, which I did already see. He also did work on Sonny Boy and Wonder Egg Priority. Sonny Boy, interestingly enough, I think I watched the first 4 episodes and I found it artistically and conceptually very interesting, but I did find that the pacing and the way the directing went on didn't really speak to me. I don't know. I mean, for me personally, it fell apart, but maybe other people enjoyed it and enjoyed it to the end. I just know that a general consensus among people that I have talked to, that I regularly talk to, they kind of seem to agree on that. And on Wonder Egg Priority, I actually watched up to episode 9. I think I've seen parts of the last few episodes, but it kind of lost the plot for me, in my opinion. It just went too big on the scope and wanted to include too much grand narrative things. I did really love the focus on the characters in the first 2/3 of the anime, and I really really enjoyed the interactions between the characters and the trauma and the healing they were going through on their own paths. But then it all kind of started going to a global scale, which is something I personally didn't care much for, and that's where the anime kind of lost me. But yeah, he has worked on a couple of notable things. I also do see now maybe that he might have been one of the people involved in making the decision to include an opening from a Japanese band that he personally liked. But yeah, I mean, he was surely not the only one who made the decision, but I'm pretty sure that the influence of a head director and other members of the staff that might have liked Yoasobi weighed in on that being the actual OP in the end. Then we have the VA of Frieren, which is Atsumi Tanesaki. She did voice Anya Forger, interestingly enough, in Spy Family, which I would not have expected at all in the beginning, because if you look at Frieren, she's very kind of low energy, right? She's very, very flat on the emotional side of things, which is great as a character. But Anya, in contrast to that, is very high energy, very waku waku, you know, always excited, always kind of almost ADHD, not really, but you know, very frantic. So I find it very interesting. Like, it shows the range of the voice actress. She also voiced Futaba in Bunny Girl Senpai, which I can absolutely imagine. She's a very straight to the point, emotionally very, well, not actually calm, but on the surface, not very expressive kind of character, very sciencey in that regard. And then she also voiced Chise in Ancient Magus Bride, which, again, on the same level, kind of, right? Emotionally flat, on the inside very very deep, but on the outside not a lot of expressiveness, and the few moments of expressiveness that you do have, that they're really impactful. So it makes sense on the typecasting. At the same time, very very impressed by the range, considering that she did Anya. We do have also Fern's voice actress. Fern, by the way, as I've mentioned in the preview of episode 2, here you see the same shirt. Future Terminus here. Not future anymore. Yeah. Kana Ichinose. I'm sorry if I expressed that a little bit wrongly. I'm trying to get my Japanese expression right, but sometimes I'm just overdoing it and then it doesn't come out right. We have Maki Shisho from Kaguya. Shout out to Kaguya. By the way, Pink, watch Kaguya. I'm serious. You gotta watch Kaguya. Anyway, yeah, Maki Shisho from Kaguya, which I can kind of see. She's very like Fern is more high energy than Frieren, but the anime in general doesn't have a lot of exciting up and downs. But I can see her and also hear her being Maki Shisho. She also voiced apparently Ichigo in Darling in the Franxx. It's been quite a while since I've seen that one. And I was only like interested cause Trigger, because I do like Trigger shows in general. And then she also played Yusuria from Doctor Stone. I did watch a little bit Doctor Stone. I know she's kind of like the love interest of the best friend of what was his name? Like the main character in Doctor Stone. I don't know anymore. Like I have his visuals right in my head, but I don't know his name anymore. So yeah, we do have Himmel as well, which a very interesting thing I found about Himmel's voice actor is that he actually voiced Bakugo from My Hero Academia. that was a real surprise. Sorry, I got interrupted there. Nobuhiko Okamoto voiced Bakugo from My Hero Academia, and Bakugo being all aggressive and and shouting and super high energy, as opposed to Himmel, who is more very, I would say, very relaxed and kind of playful a little bit. A little bit cocky, but just like the relaxed, laid back kind of character. And later on in his later years, when he becomes older, is very calm in his demeanor. He also did do Sengoku in Horimiya. I've seen that a couple of seasons ago. And he did do one thing that very excited me a lot is he did Nikaido in Sangatsu. I didn't even know that connection, that Nikaido from Sangatsu was actually had the same voice actor as Bakugo from My Hero Academia. So that is the thing that warms my heart to see, like a series that I enjoy so much and I love so much. Popping up here as one of the voice actors that was very prominent in that one. But yeah, very, very big contrast between Himmel and at least two of those roles, but the third as well, like Sengoku as well. He was more of like a naive, young, little bit excited, kind of nerdy character. And then in the end, we have Ueda Yochu. I'm mispronouncing that. You tell me in the comments how you pronounce it. Ueda, who voices Aizen and apparently also voiced Alexis in Steins Gate Zero. Again, a little bit of a contrast. He also voiced Hanaoka in Sangatsu, which was the butler of Nikaido. I can see that more. I can definitely see that, and also hear that from the way he talks. And he voiced Bebin in Osama Ranking, one of the more recent anime that I enjoyed quite a lot personally. Animation, the story, the way it was made, like picture book-esque, it was very interesting. Even the OPs were great. But yeah, Bebin, also one prominent character in that series. So that is very interesting and might inform me as to the mannerisms and maybe also just me recognizing what they sound like and maybe being able to recognize them further down the line. I did also look a little bit into animation, but I do feel, and I made the same discovery on Sakukaboro, that animation is not a big thing in Frieren. Not to say that the animation is in any way bad. Excuse me. But the focus of this anime is not in the animation. It's in the calm atmosphere, in the emotional depths and everything. Though I would really like to... I don't know if you can look that up, but I would really like to look up who made the star scene where you see the stars passing by and they looking at the meteors passing by. Who made the meteor shower scene? I would also be very interested to see who made the sunset scene, where Fern and and Frieren are looking at the sunset. That was a beautiful scene as well. But those are not animation. Those are more art style and directing, I would say. So we would have to put that possibly, not necessarily, but possibly on Saito's shoulders, who, if he did that, it did a very good job of that, of setting like the scene and the atmosphere. And obviously all the animators and all the artists that were involved, it's an incredible thing to see scenes of nature that most of us only see maybe once in a lifetime depicted in such an amazing manner, which is definitely one of the upsides of modern society, that you have photography and digital archives and the internet to kind of burn those moments into eternity and find them later on and be inspired by them and create your own pieces of art based on your personal view of those moments. And yeah, it's an amazing thing. That being said, I would say we should just jump into the episode. Let me just check for a second if we do have everything going here. I want to turn the episode. Nah, you know what? I'll do that in editing. We do have everything on screen. It seems to work pretty well. I'm doing a last little touch to see that I can get everything up to speed, and then we are almost forgot the headphones. We are a go. Cold open. All right. It did. And what's most interesting about this is that she's surprised by him saying that. It shows you that sometimes you just don't realize that it's noticeable. Or you don't even realize that it happened, right? I mean, one of the two. She must be like, I mean, 17 or something? I do like the intro more and more the more I see it, I gotta say. Like in the beginning I was like, maybe, but the more I see the series, the more I do see that it does have its ups and downs. So there is, and that there is definitely a positive spin on the entire story so far. Like going in knowing about what I did know about it, which was very little to be fair. I did expect it to be more of a cold and sad story of remembrance, but at the moment I do feel that the story itself is a lot more positive and optimistic, and I do really appreciate and like that. Seeing it as a good thing to process the things you have experienced, process the sadness and the pain you've experienced, but also the nice moments and the nostalgic things. Phantoms of the Dead. All right. maybe the dragon felt something about Stark, which he himself didn't even know. I mean, lacking self-confidence is gonna make you a whole lot less effective and less skilled than you might have the potential to be. Then again, it might just be the stare down. The dragon was on a rampage and the guys just stood in front of him. But I'm sure we're gonna get our explanation very soon. Okay, so he has some cowardice. Or survival instinct, if you wanna name it like that. So he has the knowledge. And Frieren trusts that Eisen's word holds true. Nice. I do believe that sometimes all you need is just a little bit of a shove, and it's been that way in Frieren's case very often. And now it might be in Stark's case. And that's the episode. That's a wrap. I guess we'll see next time how this is gonna work out. I'm sure it's gonna go fine. Stark's gonna mess up a little bit, and I'm gonna be like, alright, I gotta pull myself together, I can do this, right? Maybe there's some interaction between Fern and Stark, where they make a connection. Makes Fern accept Stark as part of the group, and then we can move on. At least that is what I'm thinking might happen here. I would like to have some Romanji lyrics here, because I always love to kind of recognize Japanese words in I'm not good enough to identify the kanji, but you know, it's great to see words that you recognize and kind of make the connection to new meanings and new contexts to use them in. But it is what it is. Very nice lyrics. I didn't pay perfect attention, but very nice so far. So we're gonna reset. We're gonna do our usual thing, pause it for a second, and then we're gonna talk about it. I would say. How do I do that? All right. Generally, I would say that we talk about it a little bit. There's not that much to talk about, so we'll keep it a little bit short. I might in the future I might actually write down some time codes on what I find very interesting, but for now we're just gonna throw through the episode. We're gonna yap about it. We do start out with a little bit of a recap on what our journey's goal is. We already talked about it in before we watched the episode. So I do think it's kind of unnecessary to elaborate further on it. The more I see the intro, the more I really like it. Like I said in the episode, it seems more and more fitting. And slowly but steadily, we do assemble our cast, as we will see in this episode. We do have a little bit of a flashback for Fern as she's dreaming about what Hyter said to her shortly before he died. And Fern Fern kind of makes the most intelligent comments at a very young age. So and Hyder should maybe express himself a little bit better. That is a very good example of miscommunication. You say something, right? I mean, I'm sure in Japanese it sounds a little bit more vague and not as clear cut as "I'll haunt you once I'm dead," right? But he says something along those lines, and as a result, Fern is like, well, if I'm a bad girl, you're gonna come to me after I die, what? And he's like, nah, if you're a good girl, I'm gonna come and visit you and tell you how proud I am of you. And that's kind of like a very fatherly thing to say to her. And we come to this town. We get a new problem. This is kind of the MO of the series so far. It's kind of like a Witcher episode. You come into a town and suddenly you see, okay, there's this issue, there's that issue. You ask around, you ask people. They're like, okay, people are disappearing. They apparently see the ghosts of the dead. Why they would know why they're disappearing, I'm not quite sure. But I do assume that rumors go around because somebody survived it, dropped the information, and then got the hell out of there, right? And they're gonna be like, this is spooky, I don't know how to deal with this, I'm gonna get out of here, this area is cursed or whatever. And one person tells the other, and through word of mouth, this gets along. We do have a very, very beautiful shot over here. A top-down. I find shots without a sky very interesting because they seem very otherworldly in many cases. So it is very interesting for me to see that over here. Also, I didn't do it. I didn't make it full screen, so I'll have to edit this. Oh my god. Either way, we do see, we do see this shot, which is very nice, a top-down shot of them walking along, and it's not an issue in my opinion that there is no eyes or no mouth on their faces. It's a far enough away shot that I would absolutely accept this level of abstraction. The shot still looks very nice. It's very very enjoyable to look at. And Frieren kind of indicates that she already knows what kind of monster this might be. And we do have a little discussion about Fern reminding Frieren of Himmel in her ability or in her desire to try to help people wherever they go, which is certainly a thing that makes Fern a lot more interesting as a character for Frieren, and makes her enjoy her company, because it reminds her kind of the friend that she lost, that she didn't have to spend, that she couldn't spend enough time with. And Frieren seems to be still in that mindset where she's trying to justify her doing things for other people through her companions wanting it to be done, right? So you have your friend and you have yourself, right? And you're in a situation where somebody needs help, and you're like, well, actually, maybe not on a conscious level, but at least on a subconscious level, you do have a little bit of the desire to help that person, or you feel a little bit sorry for them, but you need that excuse that your friend is saying, come on, we need to help them, right? And then you can more easily accept that you're going to do it, right? I do think there's a lot of elements that that flow into that. So one of them might be pride, in the sense of, or identity, in the sense of, I do have a certain view of myself, right? Along the lines of, I don't mind helping random people, but if I help everybody, I'm never gonna get anywhere, right? It's their lives, it's their responsibility. I can't help everyone, right? And Frieren definitely still has that emotional distance. But she has, on the other hand, she has this kind of desire to understand humans more, to be more like humans, to be more like her friend Himmel. And as such, she uses her companions, Eisenheiter and Fern, to justify her doing things that would be more in line with Himmel's character, more in line with Himmel's spirit and his wishes, and what he would be saying to her and doing with her if they were both still alive, right? I'm sure there's a deeper way to look into that on a therapy level, but I do not think that I'm at the level to properly assess that yet. So I'll leave that to Ed and his deep dive analyses of the models of relationships and social systems and personality and whatnot. I do know a bit about personalities, but my knowledge, I think, is more informal in many cases. I do not have the explicit knowledge to tell you, okay, there's this theory and there have been studies done on this and that. I could surely tell you that about certain topics that I've that I've dealt with in my bachelor's thesis or in my internships, but I couldn't tell you that about everything specifically. So yeah, but it's very interesting to see these different personalities dealing with things differently. And also to see that Frieren definitely has the desire to change, to experience the viewpoint of Himmel, who she very much adored and liked. A fact that she only now really has started to realize once he was dead. Yeah, very interesting situation. And yeah, we are gonna travel there. We're gonna experience the ghosts of the past, the illusions of the monster, and for Fern, it is Heiter, which was her father figure for a few years of her life, who saved her and raised her to a degree, and he brings up this memory of hers, this explicit memory of hers that wouldn't be generic, right? If it was just a generic illusion of somebody you used to know, somebody you had very dear, of course it would hurt you emotionally, but you could distance yourself from it emotionally. You could be like, okay, this is just an illusion, it's fine, it's just some kind of copy, it's like a hologram, it's like a picture, right? It's fake, but at the moment you begin to make that connection with memories you have, very intimate memories of yourself, you start to doubt yourself. Is that really just an illusion? Or is a part of that person in there? Right? And even if you know the doubts are irrational, they're still gonna come to you. Because it touches you emotionally, it makes you insecure. And we see that here. She is afraid that she's doing the wrong thing, that she's came to the wrong conclusion, that she's having the wrong assumption here. And then we have the other side of things. Frieren turns around and it's Himmel, and she's kind of surprised that it's Himmel. She thought it would be her master again, but it makes sense, right? Her master was somebody who influenced her a lot in her early years, but Himmel was somebody who changed her, who influenced her in her, like, lately, right? In her more recent memories. And he was somebody very dear to her. But as Himmel's character is the way it is, I definitely expected this. Himmel would just say, "Come on, shoot me. I'm just an illusion, dude." And he's encouraging. He's very warm saying it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it hurt her emotionally, but it also helped her that he said that in that moment. And it's very much like him, very much like what we got to know about him as a person. And this reveals kind of part of the illusion and makes kind of gives Fern the determination she needs to pull the trigger to end the monster and solve the problem. And then we move on to the dragon. We have this little that is very interesting for me. We do use this very often. This little plot hook where we take something Frieren possibly might want, her hobby of collecting spells, her hobby of collecting magical books and whatever. And we're just like, okay, they stumble upon a dragon. And she's like, oh, this is the grimoire I've been looking for. I mean, to be fair, we could get a little bit more exposition about this. Like, why do you know that it's exactly the one you've been looking for? Can you identify it, right? But it's not important. It's just a plot device to put us in that situation of having to confront that dragon, right? And through confronting that dragon, by the way, I do find this scene very hilarious, how Frieren is already kind of behind the bush and just lets Fern shoot her magic and whatever. And the dragon awakes and is angry, and of course it's a dragon. It probably has some magic resistance if we're going by D&D rules. And there's Frieren sitting behind a tree being like, oh, well, interesting, you shot it, nothing happened. As I suspected, we need to get the hell out of here. And she just books it. And Fern is here being like, what? Wait. Come again? And then the dragon appears. It's a very hilarious moment. Obviously very inconsiderate by Frieren, but also very in character for her. So it works in that particular scene, both on a comedic level and on a level of the characters. So we don't sacrifice the character's integrity to go for a comedy skit. We use the character's personality and their mannerisms to lead into the comedy skit and make it a funny thing. Now, obviously, this is fiction, this is media. Here it works. It wouldn't work in real life. In real life, you'd be like, what the fuck? What did you just do to me? That is absolutely irresponsible. I mean, in some cases you'd accept it. You'd be like, okay, this is just how she is. But in many cases it would make for an argument, and for you disliking the character. But here it serves a very, very funny, it makes for a very funny scene. We do go a little bit into detail about why Frieren kind of went for that town, because you already knew there's gonna be an apprentice. He's gonna be somewhere in this region. Maybe she didn't know though. Actually, no. She said so. She said she's looking for help, and she thinks one of Eisen's apprentices is here. And we are saved the trouble of searching for them because somebody recognizes Frieren, which, again, a plot device which is very, very well used. That Frieren is generally very known as part of the Heroes Party, and since her appearance doesn't change over the years, over the decades, it's also very easy to recognize her as somebody who used to be there early, when the whole demon stuff was going on, and who is still there now, like old people, for example, in this case, old humans. And we do get led to our new character, which is Stark. The name Stark, again, a German name. The naming conventions are very, very straightforward here, in the sense that so far most of the named characters that we have met had German names. So Stark, we already know the stereotype right from the name. Stark is a German word and means strong. Here we go. He's strong. He's a fighter, right? And he's the apprentice of Eisen. We already know that. Eisen used to be the fighter of the party. And he seems very self-confident and all on the surface. He also very interestingly tries to scare them off and be like, I got this wound. And Frieren kind of puts it off and like, it's not that bad, right? She shows that she has kind of knowledge about what to gauge how bad a wound is, how dangerous a situation is, maybe, like if you want to infer that from that. And then he already suspects that Eisen put her up to this and thinks he might want her to drag him home to his master. But we are here for a different reason. We want to defeat that dragon. We do have Eisen questioning the motives of Frieren, why she wants to defeat that dragon, not right? Because obviously, for a normal person, not everyone just would do that on a whim. It's a very dangerous and powerful foe. And Frieren kind of gives him a little bit of a concession by opening herself up a tiny bit. I'm pretty sure that there is more to her reasons of doing these things than, hey, somebody once complimented me. We do know that, right? It is implied behind the scenes that we've seen from her memory that there's a very deep emotional reason for that. But all we get, and all Eisen gets in this very situation, is obviously, well, somebody once complimented me for it. Since then, I like doing it, right? It's my hobby in this case. I enjoy doing it. It's a very interesting thing about motivation is, yes, if people compliment us for something, even if we're not particularly good at it, I do believe that this can have a huge effect on you. Even if you're not, I mean, if you're bad at it, you might realize it probably. But if you're just average at something and you keep getting complimented for it, it raises your motivation. It might make you believe that you're a little bit better than you actually are. But by having motivation to engage in this thing, right, you will engage in it more. And the more you engage in it, the more you learn it and the better you get at it, right? Even if you're just getting better at an average rate, you are busying yourself more with the thing. You're diving deeper into the actual matter of the skill you're learning or the activity you're doing than your peers, right? And as a result of that, you're gonna be better. And it doesn't matter if you have talent, as in if it is very easy for you to learn it, or if you learn this particular thing very fast, or if you're just spending a lot of time with it. Now, obviously, your potential might be higher if you're talented in a particular skill, right? If you're talented and if you're learning it fast and whatever. But just the mere fact of getting complimented for it, which in turn makes you more interested in it, which in turn makes you spend more time with it, is gonna make you better at that thing. So this is a very interesting loop. We do have Frieren here as a perfect example, a very, very powerful mage. Now, obviously, she has all the time in the world as an elf. She has 100 human lifetime. Well, maybe not 100, but at least 10 human lifetimes, maybe even 15. And she uses that lifetime, most of that lifetime though, to do the thing that she got complimented for by a person that she very much respected and liked. And as a result of that, it has become a very part of her identity, right? And that is a thing that's not always on the surface, right? That's not always at the forefront of our mind, of our consciousness. We don't realize that necessarily, but it is a thing that that defines us as a person down the line. But yeah, we do have that. Frieren gives him a little bit of a reason as to why she would be interested in it, and he accepts it. But obviously, here comes the punchline. He is mortally afraid of the dragon. Him standing up to the dragon was, in his own mind, just a hoax. He doesn't know why the dragon left and didn't attack anymore. I think it is one of two things. Well, it might be a third thing where there's a special whatever that neither of us actually know. But I think the most likely thing is that him standing up to the dragon and being all very still and maybe being able to keep somewhat of a poker face. I know we see the super afraid human here, but that might not actually be what the dragon sees, either because the dragon has no concept of how human facial expressions work, or also because he can't keep a straight face. We don't know that necessarily. This is told out of the perspective of Stark, who might be an unreliable narrator, right? we know just for a fact, we do know out of secondhand observation and his own telling, the match of the two, we do know that Stark stood there and he stood firm, and the dragon rampaged and he did nothing. He kept standing, and then the dragon flew away, because maybe the dragon was like, damn, this guy didn't even move a muscle. I need to get the hell out of there. He might be stronger than I am. Or we do have the second option, which is that Stark is actually strong enough to beat the dragon. He has the potential, or he is already strong enough. He has the skills to beat the dragon, but he does not have the self-confidence to do so. He never fought a monster. He learned all the techniques from Aizen. He is strong, but he has this little cowardly instinct, which it's a functional instinct, right? It's being cowardly in situations of mortal danger is a survival instinct. And it is a functional one, because otherwise it wouldn't have, well, it wouldn't have continued to be passed down. You run away from the danger that might be more than you can handle. You survive, you get kids, right? That's the way it works. And it's functional as a survival instinct, right? And if you teach somebody to be conscious of what they can handle and what they can't, and they run away in situations that they can't handle, and they stand their ground in situations that they can, then you're pretty much, if they're strong, if they're capable, then they're a good fighter. And Aizen said to Frieren, we see that a little bit later, that Stark, in his opinion, is a good fighter. So this might be the second possible option as to why why Stark scared away the dragon, because the dragon realized something that he himself did not realize, that he's strong enough to beat him. And yeah, very funny, Fern's disgusted face, looking down upon a coward who is too afraid to stand up to a dragon, which is kind of impossible standards, but we're actually traveling with a world-class mage, so Fern getting used to this level of power and strength and bravery, and not being faced in a situation that is beyond your scope is actually not too surprising. But at the same time, it's kind of hypocritical if you think about the fact, Fern, young lady, that you ran away in terror earlier from the dragon. So, you know, don't judge if you can't do it yourself. But yeah, she's also kind of looking down on him a little bit because he didn't clear up the lie, I think. Which, we talked about it a little bit. It gets harder and harder the longer you keep up the lie, right? And at some point the stakes are so high that you're like, this relationship with the person I've built up, this how do you call it? Reputation that I've built up, it's all gonna go downhill and people are gonna hate me when I reveal it, right? And now there's only one thing for Stark to do. Fake it till you make it, right? He has to defeat the dragon, but Frieren is convinced that he can do it. So she's like, you got one day, you better do it. And we see him contemplating a little bit, thinking about what decision to make. Frieren reminds Fern about the first time she fought a monster, and she's gonna be a little bit pouty. I love Fern's pouty face. That is one of the most enjoyable parts of this anime, I gotta say. And yeah, then we do have that little flashback, and we do have the confrontation where Fern and Stark once again come face to face for a private talk this time. And maybe, just maybe, next time they will make a connection, and Fern will start to trust him a little bit more and understand him a little bit more, because that's all we need in the end, right? First impressions are a very important thing, because we humans are very used to immediately judging people, because it's functional. it's very important that we know who we're dealing with, what the potential dangers are of being around them, what the potential downsides are, how we can benefit, right? This is important for our survival. At least it used to be in the past, and even today, to a degree, it still is. And trust is built upon that. If the first impression is bad, it's hard to repair it sometimes, but all we need is some point of connection to find out how does a person tick, how do they work on the inside, what do they think, what do they feel, and why do they feel the way they feel. And for that you need communication. You need to express your thoughts and feelings to another person. But that is a hard thing, because revealing a part of yourself is making yourself vulnerable, right? It's opening up possible wounds and weak sides that you have that people can then drill into if they want to be malicious, right? Or if they look down on you and don't respect you. And that's why it's hard to reveal ourselves to people, because people can be either mean or judgmental or not understand why you're having the trouble you're having, right? That is a big part of why a lot of people don't seek mental help, even though they might need it a lot earlier than when they eventually go and seek it, or when somebody else sends them to seek it. And yeah, my coffee is cold at this point. I do think I went way beyond the actual time. We are at 1:10 at this point. So yeah, so much about having a shorter episode. I'm still figuring things out. I don't know, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, I do know that I want to continue this series, and I enjoy discussing it with you very much, even though we're not discussing it yet, even though it's not published yet, but it will be, and we're gonna figure out how we're gonna do this thing. So until then, I do hope you do have a good night, a good day, and yeah, until next time.